Hello, Lore here. Today let's talk about a little known board game called Root. Root is an indie board game developed by Leader Games, all about cute animals doing cute things, like starting a war, committing espionage, baking this cake, and starting a revolution to overthrow the current government. You know, just typical animal behavior. My personal favorite is this fox, camping outside drinking tea, just enjoying life while a bunch of rabbits are burning down food supplies. Isn't he just great? So all of this takes place in the woods. You might imagine a beautiful place, full of nature and peace, where the worst thing that can happen is be attacked by a bandit or a bear. But you'd be wrong, because when day turns to night and you find yourself all alone in the deep dark woods, with no way to go to where you need to be, you start to understand that you're not alone. All around, in the distance, are eyes that are watching your every move. Because in the woods is full of hungry predators just waiting in the dark for the perfect time to strike. But even in such a dangerous place, life still finds a way. For in the woods, there are clearings that provide a safe environment for animals to build their homes and form their businesses, forming a community with one another. There's a wide assortment of different animals that gather together in these clearings, but certain animals are more common than others. Because of this, each clearing is dominated by either rabbits, mice, or foxes. There's also a large number of birds, but they mostly just hang around the canopies, living on top of the trees because they have this broken ability to fly. This resulted in each clearing having a different strength. Clearings dominated by rabbits are usually the most wealthy, producing both foodstuffs and traveling gear. They sold these products to the other animals, eventually making sure the paths are safe so that they are able to travel between the clearings and expand their business. All this money made them rich, making them able to establish the most successful bank, called the Better Borough Bank. Fox clearings are known for metalworking. They are great at making swords and armor, and wielding those weapons, making foxes very valuable soldiers during war. You know what's also metal? Coins. Foxes are responsible for minting the coins, so they are used to handling and taking them from the other animals. Mice clearings are more simple than the other ones. They're not as wealthy or strong as the other animals, causing them to be looked down upon. A weakness that the mice turned into a strength. Because nobody expects much from them, they're able to fly under the radar and are excellent at smuggling and stealing both goods and information. Basically your typical halfling rogue from D&D. It turns out when you literally view everyone below you, you start to believe you're better than everyone else. So that's why the birds decided to just conquer everyone. From atop the trees, they went down and just wrecked everybody. The birds launched their attacks, striking the animals below, catching them by surprise. Going from clearing to clearing, following the Geneva suggestions, the birds did everything to win. They eventually won and formed the Erie dynasty. And the birds that ruled over the Erie dynasty became the rulers of the woods. Now, not every bird is a member of the Erie dynasty, but they did pass laws giving them and the birds in general greater privileges than the rest of the animals. Oh yeah, class system, am I right? This continued for a while until, like any good dynasty, the nobles began to fight amongst themselves, resulting in a civil war for control. Once the birds picked sides, they began to fight and kinda look like this. This just weakened them and caused the citizens to suffer even more. While all of this was happening, in a faraway place in another kingdom, the Marquis the Cat saw all of this chaos and planned an invasion, and the birds soon lost control of the woodland. With a common enemy, the birds have regrouped and are now focused on taking back their ancestral home. But the wounds of the past are not forgotten, and the loose joining of the different birds is only possible with the maintenance of a complex web of political promises. Should any of these promises be broken, then the entire thing falls apart. A foreign force taking over from the current ruling class? That's right, it's colonization time. The cats built this big ass keep, and from there, they started to take over everything: taxes, food, even our fox friend isn't safe. Now that the people are suffering just enough, now it's time for the environment to do so as well. That's right, it's industrialization time. The woodlands has a lot of natural resources. Just lying there not doing anything. Would be a shame not to use it. So the cats did that. And to be fair, how bad could they be? It's just nature. At first the citizens thought that they were safe from the birds, but not everyone liked what was happening. Turns out taking over as the new tyrant from the old doesn't really make you popular with the people, so the animals tried to resist in small ways. Things began to escalate, and more tension began to build, and it's only a matter of time until it all comes to an end. Not wanting to choose between dictator number 1 and dictator number 2, in the distance a small force began to form. Different animals from different clearings, united by a single cause, began to arm themselves and fight. Through espionage and guerrilla tactics, the Woodland Alliance began to gain small gains both from the Ear dynasty and from the Marquis de Cat. But sadly, reality started to set in. Turns out this whole rebellion business is harder than it seems. For you see, when a clearing is taken from the enemy, this results in better living conditions and the people no longer wanting to fight. But if a clearing is taken from you, suddenly the people are more willing to join the fight against injustice. So a delicate balance needs to be managed. Propaganda is key to making the people hate the enemy and inspiring them to fight. In all of this chaos exists a group of animals that just do what they want. The vagabonds don't fit into life in the clearings, instead dwell in the forest. But there's a problem in living alone. Yeah, turns out it's harder than you think. Focused on survival, they take any job they can get to be able to get enough food and supplies to live another day. Vagabonds sacrifice a safe and secure life for freedom and from the constraints of society. But with the ongoing war, it becomes harder and harder to manage. So the vagabonds decided to do what they do best and become reasonable businessmen and do honest work, like extortion, becoming a mercenary for hire, arson, and the like. But in this group of animals, some vagabonds dream bigger and see an opportunity in all of this.
Chaos is a ladder.
Playing the different groups from one another, they plan to make it so that they're the only ones on top when it's all said and done. Now that you know all the faction in place, you might be wondering how it all ends. But it's actually up to you. By playing the game, you decide how it all ends and which faction reigns on top.